Well, MJ Green, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming in. So you're here today from the Miami Downtown Development Authority.
Correct.
Taking some meetings in New York, talking to a whole lot of different people. Tell me why the Miami DDA sent you here and what you're hoping to accomplish.
I mean, I think that we all know that Miami and New York have quite the relationship for many years. And so at the DDA, we're a quasi-governmental entity spurred to really push economic development in a certain area in Miami that includes downtown, Brickell, Edgewater, and the Arts District. Miami's seen unprecedented growth in the last couple of years. And so we're here to make business relationships. We're really focused on quite a few different sectors. I think tech, finance, but then also recently we've been really focusing on the retail mix that's downtown. And so we're here, it is Fashion Week, meeting with some different fashion-based retail companies to really, talk to them and see what interests them with our incentive program to get them to come down and open up in Miami.
Yeah, so you're talking to a number of folks who are, based here in New York. I'd love to just sort of know, what it is you think you guys can offer in Miami, downtown, Arts District, wherever, that they can't find here in New York. What makes the sort of, let me restate that. What's the sort of unique reason why people should be coming into Miami now?
I think Miami's, really had a special catalytic moment in the past couple of years. We've seen more and more business go down there. I think that Miami has turned into a global hub. For the long time, people talked about Miami in a business way, and they really mentioned it being kind of the capital of Latin America. I think that still holds true. But I also believe that Miami is now really a global business hub. You're seeing more companies from the UK. Obviously, you have access to Latin America, the Caribbean islands, but then also too for the international companies, you've got the domestic USA, and as people look to nearshore or onshore different cargo, that's a huge opportunity for both of the ports in Miami. And I think there's just a ton of business that continues to grow in Miami, financial services, tech, and then the wealth that's moved there in the past couple of years. Obviously, the taxes in Miami or in Florida, in the state of Florida, are also something that attracts people. And I think that also too, what's really makes Miami special is diversity. If you look at America and where things are trending, Miami is what America will look like probably in 30, 40, maybe 50 years from now. And so businesses move into Miami, not only do they get 3 markets at one time, but they also are able to work with and work in a place that will have the cultural competency to be successful in Nebraska 50 years from now. And I think that that's really a unique opportunity at the moment.
Yeah. So as we're talking to folks here in New York, and sort of pitching these many wonderful things that are happening in Miami right now, what's the reaction that you're getting, whether it's from retailers or, in our sort of core audience, folks in the real estate space, who are looking for, opportunity wherever they can find it?
Miami has this amazing mix where you have not only, a wealthy audience that's there and the individuals that live there, but also all these tourists, right? There are 500,000 people that get off cruise ships every single month in downtown Miami. That opportunity for transactions is something that really only exists in a place like New York, maybe LA. I would even argue, Chicago isn't the same as Miami. And so I think that is a hugely unique opportunity on the retail level, but also too in the traditional more, I would say, real estate, right? You're seeing a lot of developments kind of offer, I would say, a prong product where it's a hotel, it's a condo, and then some spaces for short-term rental, right? Airbnb. I think that's a really interesting mix because that is, really part of Miami's economy. The tourists and what we all know about Miami and love about Miami and the fun and the sun and the great quality of life, that's stayed the same. And if anything, continue to get better. And I think people have realized how important that is post-pandemic. But then also now you have all of this business activity, the finance, the tech, and the wealth that's come there. And so I think that for a real estate developer, it really offers a unique opportunity because in business, you want to have multiple streams, right? And so I think that you're able to have that even on the retail level, right? Being able to have half of your audience be visitors or tourists that are taking your product through all over the world is a huge opportunity for someone on the retail level to be able to, move their product, plus the wealth that is in Miami as well. And I think that is a unique proposition for both of those parties.
Yeah, I want to come back to, sort of the general growth of Miami, the growth of tourism, the growth of residents. But let's talk a little bit about Miami DDA and what you guys do specifically as well. You are trying to incentivize folks to come downtown. How?
And so we have quite a few different ways. I think the first thing that we'll talk about is, our incentive program. So we give actual grants to businesses to move to Miami. Recently, we've switched up things in our incentive program. And so now we have, I would say, 3 different buckets. One is on the ground floor retail, which is a $50,000 grant to move into ground floor retail spaces in downtown or the DDA area, right? Which includes Brickell, which includes the Arts District, where the Miami Heat play, and the PAM, and a little bit of Edgewater, and downtown. And then we have a startup grant, right? There's $25,000 each year over a 3-year period, really to get startups to come to Miami to grow and ideate their ideas there, right? We've seen a lot of growth in the startup sector. We've seen more venture capital firms and individuals that could be investors and credit investors continue to grow in Miami. And so those opportunities to grow your business are there, along with the access to the Latin American markets and all those things as well. And then we've kept our traditional grant program. We're really focused on what I would say mid-sized businesses, moving in more traditional office space. And that's a grant that's up to $50,000 and it's really tied to, it's $500 for every 500 square feet and then $2,000 for every employee. And I think that those are great opportunities, but they are really, I think gravy on the dinner plate, right? I think that some of the other things that the Miami DDA does to ensure that businesses are successful, using our PR relationships to make sure you get the right media. But also too, we all know in business, a $50,000 grant is great, but business relationships are more important. Business relationships can be worth millions or invaluable, right? And so we really work with the folks that are in our incentive program to make sure that they are making the appropriate business connections and really wrapping our arms around them to bring the right people to the table. If they want to meet with anyone in any sector, we use our breadth of relationships to bring those people directly to them so that when they get to Miami, they really have a track in front of them in which they can really accelerate.
Tell me a little bit about how you work with the developers who are, building, whether it's new office or new retail, or even new, multifamily or hotel or short-term rental in downtown. Something that we have reported on quite a bit is the wave of development coming into Miami under the pretense that there's, this sort of Silicon Valley South or Wall Street South that's going to really solidify itself in the next few years. So are you seeing those kinds of tenants come in? And then how do you work with developers, owners to connect them to those potential tenants?
We are seeing those businesses come in, right? I think when you think of financial services, the investment made by Citadel and moving there and growing that office and building that office in Miami, I think is huge. But then also there's been investments made. There's a trading floor opening up in Wynwood. MIEX is, I think, the 6th or 8th largest stock exchange in the world. It's really an options exchange. But they're opening up a trading floor in Wynwood. The opportunities that will bring and continue to grow the financial services sector. You guys, folks in New York, know how important that is. But then at the DDA, anything that someone might need to a certain extent from a development standpoint downtown, we really help out. I talk to a lot of developers and speak on a lot of panels about things that are coming, right? Because that's really important, how we are connecting the communities. But we go as far as to safety walks, right? So for the development as things change, making sure that people feel safe at night, making sure people aren't lost, cleaning the streets, providing, graffiti removal and all those things, but then also to connecting the dots, right? Making sure individuals have the right space and the space that they're looking for. We have a lot of really beautiful Class A office space and more Class A office space coming to downtown. Yeah. But now we have this amazing mix of Class A office space, luxury buildings, apartment buildings, Airbnbs. And so I think that mix continues to really make a great community. And then we just really try to make sure that everybody's safe. We fund and put money into mass transit. Some of that is the Metro Mover, some of that is the Freebie, which is like a electric golf cart that's free to ride around downtown. And then bringing events, right? I think that as we've all seen the blue zones, connection between individuals is really important. And so we even go as to, supporting and offering grants. We call them our downtown collaborator grants, and they're open to everyone to apply, and it's a reimbursable grant up to $50,000 to have events for your community or whatever group you like. And I think that that's really important in connecting those dots. And we see a lot of developers, I think, appreciate all of the different things that the DDA does, because of things that, I would argue they can't necessarily do, but are hugely important to being able to sell and put people into those developments.
So thinking about, that community, those people who already live in downtown Edgewater, Wynwood, there were many people who lived there already before this enormous influx of, new business, new tourists. What are the priorities of the community that you talk to, those folks who already live in this area? What do they want to see come in? What are their concerns? I'm thinking in particular about infrastructure in Miami. You hear a lot from anyone who lives there about the traffic.
True.
And how it's gotten over the last couple of years. So what are you guys doing to sort of ensure that as business grows, life for the locals remains sustainable?
So I've been in New York for about a week now, and I will say that it rained for a moment, and I saw a street flooded. That also happens in Miami. And then traffic, there's obviously traffic in New York. Traffic is a byproduct of people wanting to be in a certain place. We're making the investments in the freebie. We continue to support Miami Central Station, where it's kind of like the connecting hub of most of our mass transit. And then we're making investments in improving the parking so it's easier to get around, right? Was that the second part of the question?
No, but I would say, do you get from, go ahead.
And I think, infrastructure and continuing to make investments in infrastructure is something that we all at our level, at the DDA, the city level, and the county need to do, but they are doing those different things. Sea level rise, climate change are hugely important, and we're trying to figure out the best ways to do that. Sometimes at the DDA, our way to be able to do it is to be a convener. We've had a roundtable around the future of building, right? And what does that look like? I think that you have to think of, the challenges are also opportunities. I do think that one of the investments made by the county is in the Innovation Authority that will invest in companies to come up with innovative solutions to solve problems that we have, right? I think that hopefully with some of those problems with sea level rise and what we must do for infrastructure, Miami will be the place where a startup or a business will come up with one of those solutions and not only helps Miami, but helps out the rest of the world, right? We all are impacted at some level by sea level rise. I would argue that the majority of America needs to continue to improve its infrastructure. And so I think that we're doing, good. I think we need to continue to make those investments. I think it's something that the DDA is really focused on, and we have some reports coming out in the next couple of months that are focused on, kind of what the future of Miami looks like. We're always involved into the, future plans. Whether that's at the chamber level or the city level or at the county level, right? Having a voice for, really the area in which we're served, but also to having a voice for all of Miami. And so I think that those things are something that every community is concerned about. And affordable housing is something that also too, we have to continue to work on. A good portion of my career was spent financing and working and developing affordable housing. As the cost of things have gone up, that does put some pressure on individuals throughout our community, but I also think, we do have some new apartment buildings coming up, and the county has done great investments in affordable housing, and people will continue to invest in affordable housing. So hopefully, we'll see some downward pricing pressure on apartments in the future. And I think that the supply, we've had a great influx of people, and people have realized how amazing Miami is, and so more people have moved there, and so we need to continue to build more supply. One of the things is, we have the Everglades. I don't think that we should necessarily build into the Everglades, right? That's a huge, majestic, environmental wonder. But I think that we can be smart and continue to build up and provide opportunity. That's the other thing too. I think that Miami has one of the lowest unemployment, and that opportunity, hopefully, mixed with some downward pricing on housing, will be able to provide people with enough spaces to be able to live comfortably in Miami.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about, some of the sort of priority projects for you guys. I know that the Flagler Street redevelopment is ongoing, and you guys have a development pipeline as well coming out. Tell us what your sort of biggest priorities are right now.
I would say, overall, the biggest priority is connecting the communities, right? And so there's Brickell, there's downtown, there's the Arts District, and there's Edgewater. Flagler Street is downtown. I would say Flagler Street is really the gateway to Bayfront Park. And as people get off the cruise ships, it really kind of takes them through downtown to Government Center, to Little Havana, and really you can almost go all the way to the Everglades from Flagler. Working to develop that street, make it, beautification projects, but then also, again, adding that retail mix, bringing the shopping back that was a huge downtown shopping corridor way back in the day, and we want to bring that back. Right. Also connecting the communities, and so there is the underline, which is development underneath the Metro Mover in Brickell, and the underline will connect to something that's called the underdeck and connect Brickell, downtown, Overtown, and Edgewater. A beautiful walking path with parks, with retail around it. I think, if you've seen what the Beltline has done in Atlanta as far as connecting communities and the development around that, I think that this connection between the underline, the underdeck, and then the Bay Walk, right? And so you would be able to walk basically from the end of Brickell all the way around the Bay, all the way to Edgewater, and then back around. And I think that for people to meet people, for the dogs to hang out, for kids in the area, right? We've seen more kids move to the downtown Miami. I think that those types of connections and having that green space is really important. We're really excited about that. And that's something that Neil on our team really focuses on. And I think that most of the people on our board are all really excited about being able to be a part of connecting those communities and finally, connecting the underline to the underdeck and the Bay Walk, which we've made significant investment because Miami is beautiful and people want to be able to enjoy it and be outside.
Yeah. And your feeling is, of course, that, a project like this increases foot traffic, which increases, traffic into retail stores and hopefully increases the property values as well.
And connects people. Mm-hmm. I think people being, Miami, the sun, and being able to work out and be healthy, I think that connects people, and we'll see a lot of unique individual connections being able to be made as people are able to enjoy those beautiful outdoor features.
Do you worry about overbuilding? I mean, this is a city where 15 years ago, it was just looking at the skyline was dramatically lower scale than it is today. So is that something that you worry about?
Not necessarily at the moment, because again, I think that we need the supply. Mm-hmm. People want to be there. The demand is there, right? So I think if you're looking at simple supply and demand, I'm not necessarily worried about that. From an environmental standpoint, I'm not an expert, but I trust the experts and the individuals that are doing the development. Mm-hmm. And so at the moment, that's not a concern. I think that, we want to continue to support the businesses that are there. We want to continue to support the workforce to find the appropriate opportunities to enjoy kind of this economic prosperity that Miami is receiving right now. And part of being able to enjoy that is having, a place to live that you like. And so I think that we are excited for the development and want to continue to support the development and putting businesses on all levels into the right spots and right locations.
Yeah. And so as you're thinking about that, is that where this idea of the 3D development pipeline came from, trying to identify, places where there could be more, you could go bigger, larger, higher? Is it more of about identifying the right type of asset for different spaces?
I think it's more showing folks what's coming. As individuals make decisions on where to move their business, where to invest, I think it's them being able to see it from this kind of 3D view, right? To be able to see the future a little bit, to help developers plan, to help retail businesses plan, and even honestly help folks sell apartments and condos, right? What's going to be next to this apartment in 2 or 3 years? Right. And I think that that's important for people. I think that from a business perspective, that's important. And so the 3D pipeline map will be able to see that. You'll see projects that are on their way to completion, projects that have just been granted approval, and I think that information is power, and what we want to do is provide the individuals that we're working with the most amount of information for them to make a smart business decision, because we think if we're able to do that, the smart business decision is Miami. Mm-hmm.
So, lots of exciting things coming to Miami in the future. Any sort of final thoughts, final things that you would say to the people of New York as you pitch them on bringing their business to Miami?
I think I might steal from the Mayor Suarez. At the DDA, we're here to help. Any way that we can help your business be successful, to see if Miami is the right fit for you. We have incentive dollars, but also to all of the other things that make a business successful. We're willing to go out there and do that. And we do also accept unsolicited proposals, right? There are people in New York with amazing, great ideas. At the DDA, we want to hear those ideas. If you have an amazing, great business, we want to help you make the business connection and get you to come, grow, and ideate your idea. If you have a retail business that will do a great job and you want to sell it to not only people in Miami, but people all around the world, we want to help you and support you and do that. Obviously provide you a few dollars through our incentive program, but also ensure that you are successful with PR, with networking events, or whatever else we can do to ensure that success. So, we're here to help.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you for having me.